I'm Gracie, I work at Severn Trent, and today I'll be taking you through the critical thinking course, which is also part of the Data Get to the Point package. So why do we need data? What is critical thinking? In critical thinking, we make decisions every day. Some are big decisions and some are small decisions. What do we wear compared to what job do we apply for? But when we look in these decisions, if we're slowing down our thought process and looking at the pros and cons, we're using critical thinking. We also delve into factors like bias and using and presenting data to have the best outcome for that situation. So if you think of critical thinking as an umbrella, as seen on the screen, it comes under as using data, bias, decisions, presenting data, and data as a whole. And the reason that data is at the bottom as the handle is because data is the behind the scenes of every decision that we make. Consciously or subconsciously, when we're going into a new scenario or making new decisions, we're using data. It might be our own past experiences or other people's past experiences that they've told us about, or even hard stats, statistical data, numerical data. All these different factors really can delve into critical thinking and relate to us when we're making our decisions. And as you all know, workplaces are getting more and more digital and more data is available to us. So it's important for us to know how to work with data and what we can do with it. Critical thinking is the process of thinking carefully about a subject or idea without allowing feeling or opinion to affect you. That's what Cambridge Dictionary defines it as. And that is so much easier said than done, but thankfully we have a process for us to follow. So when we do consciously need to use critical thinking, we can follow the process and make those big decisions easier. So, what is your question? Why are you looking into critical thinking? Maybe, as I said before, it's that, what job should I apply for? Next is, what evidence do you have? What information around the question is available to you? This might be documented data or implied data. For example, if we are looking into what job you can apply for, Glassdoor has lots of surveys from employees that work at a certain business that tell you how their experience has been. Next, you need to apply the evidence to the question. You have to make sure that the evidence is relevant to the question. There's no point in looking at experiences from people who work as a completely different job role at a completely different firm who may be exhausted from their role and apply it to a role that you want to apply for that's different in every way. Make sure that it's relevant and apply it to the question. Next, how would you solve this? What decisions are you coming about now? What is your viewpoint around this initial question? You might start to get and validate your opinion by the evidence that you do have and formulate that viewpoint that you're going to go with. And lastly is explore others' point of view. There's a lot of people in the world that will be for you, and it's really good to get their input in decisions that you're making. Maybe they suggest that this role is more suited to you than the other role. But it's really good to explore others' point of view and collaborate them with your own to get the best outcome. And what's amazing with critical thinking is, whilst you can use it for personal development and personal options and decisions, you can really work this into the professional career and professional life and use this with your group to get the best solution in projects. So to bring this to life, we have Kevin. Kevin wants to buy a new car. And he's looked at quotes and made lots of decisions and spoken to various different people, and even looked online and did some research to realise that to make this reachable for him, he needs to buy this car on finance. So the best quote that was available to him was £150 per month to pay finance and running costs. And as we'll go into further, his current income is £1,000 a month. So he's realised that he'll need a budget to be able to afford this £150 a month finance. And I just want to add that the pricing in this chart and in this pack is not very realistic, but it's a theoretical case study to help us evolve critical thinking and understand what that involves. So, as shown on the case study, we know that Kevin currently makes £1,000 a month and spends this across bills, food, rent, other expenses. But wanting to know more about his distribution of costs and the difference between his expenses and his income, so what goes out and what goes into his bank, he makes some bar charts. So let's have a look at the bar charts that he made. On the screen is chart A and chart B. So I'm going to give you a moment because I know I've made my decision straight away, but which one to you looks clearer? You can consider the titles, the backgrounds. So for me, I agree that chart B is a lot clearer. It's simple, it has no background, it uses one colour and is just easier to digest. It follows the two top tips for displaying data by keeping it simple and highlighting the comparison. But on the other hand, chart A, it's really difficult to digest. There's so much going on, from the long title to the patterned background to even having lots and lots and lots of different categories. It's too complicated to digest and may overwork someone's brain in not being able to then analyse it. So, agreeing with us, Kevin decides to go with chart B to be able to start his budget and analyse his expenses. So Kevin's first point of call after looking at his bar chart is his food shop. Kevin's weekly food shop costs him £50. He buys 35 items a week. He fully uses 20 of these items. He only half uses 6 of these items, and he fully wastes 9 of these items. And to me, sometimes I thought, wow, 9 items fully wasted. That's a bit unreasonable, or that's a bit unrealistic. But actually, I know a friend who she buys tomatoes every week. And she doesn't like tomatoes, but it's a staple in the shop apparently. So she buys the tomatoes every week, and every week she throws them out because she doesn't like tomatoes. She won't use the tomatoes, but it's a staple in a food shop. And that's the same as Kevin. He's buying these staples that he doesn't necessarily like, or staples that he just wants to try, but he never gets around to trying. So he throws them away every week. And the easiest solution for this is to Kevin to stop buying these items and reducing his waste as well as his expenses. So by doing this, Kevin saves £8 a week, which makes £32 a month. So let's add this to the saving calculator. Feeling positive that he's saving himself that £32 a month and reducing his waste, he looks at his 6 half-used items and begins to dive deeper into analysis. He remembers that whilst he does want to save money, it's important for him to look at the unit cost and make sure that he's getting the most out of his money. So to start this process off, he looks at an item that he usually throws most of it away, his can of beans. So Kevin usually buys 2 400-gram cans a week of baked beans for £1.20. But as I've mentioned, after opening a can, he usually throws the other half away. So he does some searching and finds 1-person portion packs. These come in a pack of 4, so it's 4 times 150-gram cans, which would cost him £1.50. Knowing that this new pack is available, Kevin decides to do a cost per unit analysis. So if any of you did this back in school that all talked about subject maths, you might recognise this, but it's unit price equals price divided by unit. And it's important to note as well that the unit that we're going on about today is grams, but that can change. It may be bars, it may be packs, it may be litres. The units can change per item that you're looking at. Using this formula, Kevin compares the different size cans. He does 2 times 400 grams equals 800. So 800 grams equals £1.20. So it's 120 pence for 800 grams. So he uses the formula and does 120 divided by 800 to find that 1 gram of beans is 0.15p, which may seem very minor, but hopefully when we work this out, it comes to a better cost resolution. So now that we've done that, you can help me to work out the next one. So 4 times 150 grams equals £1.50. So let's do 4 times 150. 4 times 150 equals 600 grams. So 600 grams is equating to £1.50. So the unit price that we need to do is 150 pence divided by 600. And hopefully you all got to this resolution that 1 gram of beans equals 0.25 pence. So this means that if we choose to buy the smaller tins, Kevin would be paying more for 1 gram of beans than compared to what he's purchasing at the moment. So if we look at the outcomes, the 1 gram of beans for 0.25 pence is more expensive than the 1 gram of beans for 0.15 pence. So Kevin decides to stick with the 2 times 400 gram cans. And because it's more cost effective for him to do this, he just decides that he's going to make himself a note and reminder to eat the beans that he's putting in the fridge, or have the full can of beans, maybe even having beans on toast for breakfast. So as well as looking at baked beans, Kevin turns to his fresh fruit bananas. Kevin usually buys a bunch of 5 bananas for £1.50. So he works out that £1.50 divided by 5 equals 30p per banana. So this seemingly cheaper price than the individual bananas of 35p. But he realises that after 4 days from his food shop, most of the bananas are brown and has only been able to eat 2 bananas, which the new theoretical price would be 75p per banana. So, obviously, what does this mean? That the bunch of bananas is less cost effective than buying individual bananas. So, because he is only eating those 2 bananas, he decides to choose to buy 2 individual bananas for 35p each. And even though the unit price is more expensive, because he only needs 2, he would actually save himself 80p a week, or £3.20 a month, which seems very minimal, but in the grand scheme of things, he's working towards being able to budget for his car on finance. So hopefully just from this calculation, you've realised that it's really important for us to look at the big picture when we're looking at substitutions. We want the best option price, but we want to be able to have the best value of money as well. So after carrying out the same analysis to the other 4 products that he only uses half of, he realises that he can save a total of £5 across the 6 products. So from looking at his food shop and analysing this, Kevin has already saved £13 a week, which is £56 a month, and he is reducing his food waste massively. So let's bank those savings. But whilst Kevin's on this winning run, he wants to go further. So now that he knows how many items he either doesn't need or can buy smaller packs of, he does some research. He goes into shops, he checks their online prices, he talks to the people about it, he does secondary and primary research. And he creates this table. So, he uses the branded versus non-branded as well as the supermarket as his independent variable. That means what is changing. And keeps the control variable as the number of items. The control variable is what he's keeping the same. He then measures the price based on this and uses the price as his dependent variable because he's measuring it. So, you can look at the amounts there. Which shop is the most expensive? It's shop A. He only makes a £13 saving and it's £37 in price. Whereas the cheapest shop is shop C at £20, saving £30. Looking at the saving difference between shop A and shop C, Kevin realises that he can save £17 just by changing to shop C. So, after this consideration, and after his loyalties to wanting that perfect car, he decides to change supermarket and buy own branded goods. So, in total, after some careful analysis, Kevin can save a total of £130 a month from his food shop. Let's bank it. And that is pretty good, £130 a month, just from considering and looking at the data he has available to him about his food shop. That everyday data has saved him £130 a month. So it's that one step closer to being able to get that car. So here is a little bit of a diversion for us. But when I talked about tables earlier, your brain may have instantly led to spreadsheets. And of course, there's lots of different spreadsheets available. But for the example I'm using today, I'm using Excel. So I'm just going to provide you a really quick and brief top tips of what tips I use for Excel, but you can find a lot more about this using YouTube or Microsoft directly. So Excel can be a great place to store all of the correlating data displays and allow you to store large amounts of data and even complete formulas. And just some top tips for displaying and storing data in Excel are simply labelling the sheets. You can see clearer at the bottom that we've labelled these sheets food shop comparison, entertainment and phone bill. If not, these sheets would have been called sheet 1, sheet 2 and sheet 3, which obviously isn't very clear. So if I really quickly needed to find something, it's hard for me to navigate and I'd have to go through all 3 sheets to be able to find what I was looking for. When we use these labels, it's also easier for someone to assess the data when we hand it over to them. Tip 2 is that we're able to sort the data out. But this sort warning will come up and press the expand the selection. This means that it won't alter any of the other columns and everything will move together. Back to Kevin's savings, the phone bill. So now, even though the costs are low compared to the other expenses, it's important for us to look at Kevin's phone bill. He currently pays £40 a month, which includes 30 GB of data, unlimited texts and calls, as well as protection coverage. And whilst the unlimited texts and calls and protection coverage are coming into a bundle for £10 a month, the 30 gig of data is £1 per each gig, regardless of whether you use it or not. Using the data on the screen, August's data usage, think about if Kevin does need this data allowance for 30 gigabytes. Remember that the packages do only go up or down in 5 times tables. So to me, it looks like he does need this data usage pack. It's 28, which is in the middle of 25 and 30, but it's still over the 25 mark. So he's going to have to, according to this data, carry on paying that £30. But what have we got here? We have a representative sample. This data on the screen highlights a sample across 6 months. It highlights his data usage as well as the data allowance, and we've put this in a line graph. It shows the alternating months of data usage compared to the allowance he actually has. Using this data, when we have that bigger picture, we can see that Kevin doesn't really need that 30 gigabyte data allowance. He's spending that £30, but he doesn't use all of it. For most of the months, the 15 gigabyte package will be more than enough. And for August, maybe he's going on holiday, maybe he can pay for that upgrade just for August. So Kevin agrees and reduces his package to 15 gigabytes a month, saving him £15 a month. When we look at a smaller sample, we can close off our mindset and come up with conclusions that are not necessarily true. Whereas when we look at a larger, more representative sample, we have a clearer, more realistic judgment of what contract Kevin needs and can find the outliers that may be caused by outside factors, like Kevin going away in August. Hopefully, this shows you the importance of having a representative sample and having an open mind, because as said before, we can use data to get the best outcome, which for Kevin is to be able to afford that car and being able to budget that £150. Let's bank that £15 a month. After saving £15 a month from his phone bill and £130 a month from his food shopping, Kevin feels motivated and turns to his entertainment costs. He writes a list of what entertainment he pays for and rates them from most used to least used. He also pairs this with a visual pie chart to assess the prices. And I don't know about you, but I relate to having music as the top of my entertainment use. Putting those earplugs in and listening to music all day. He realises that despite having a TV bundle for several years, since he has started using Netflix, he doesn't watch that much TV. He doesn't watch TV at all, actually. So what do you think he should do? Keep the package just for the sake of keeping the package? Or decide to call it quits with the package and save that £17 a month? Yep, who saves that £17 a month? And this also highlights the power of not having bias. If he let himself get into that status quo of wanting to keep everything the same, he's had a package for the past 7 years, so why shouldn't he keep the package for the next 17 years? It would be wasting him £17. So a data top tip is actually having data integrity and avoiding your own bias. Kevin also goes on to talking to his friends and asking about Apple Music versus Spotify, all these different music channels. And his friends, through talk of mouth, have said music from Apple is a lot better than Spotify. So Kevin decides to swap that as well, which gives him 6 months free music, which saves him £6 for 6 months. And then from there, he's saving £2. All these little savings are adding up. And let's see Kevin's saving chart. Woo! Kevin did it! He's got £168 saved. £130 from his food shop, £15 from his phone bill, £17 from his TV bundle, and £6 from his music. And I don't know about you, but this has motivated me to be able to look at what data I have available and see if I can save any money based on this budgeting. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you get motivated by Kevin's saving tips. And if you have any positivity from this, please put it in the comments. Thank you.